almost a father price. It is no longer your lips yet I apply. He gave up his life so I could walk in freedom. He paid up the price.
Hi, you guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to Peachable Moments. I am your co-host. My name is Tanisha, but we're homies, so you can call me Niecy.
And I'm Jade, the other co-host, and you can just call me Jade.
And I am Nisha, the other co-host, the last co-host. You can call me Nisha.
Yes.
Yes. So welcome to Peachable Moments. So definitely we are three We're three girls who have been friends for the longest. If you have not known, or if you're new to our channel, me and her, we're twins. And we're best friends. We're both best friends with Jade here.
Yes.
Oh, before we get into our topic, how's it like having twin best friends?
Right.
Okay, so can I just I'm not gonna air y'all out for like 5 seconds. So before we even press record it, they got in a whole little argument. They were talking. Well, Tanisha was saying how we live before we started. I'm not gonna say exactly what she said, but she was talking about how we looked, and she was
trolling.
She was trolling, getting on both of us, and I'm just like, let's. Okay.
I just like messed with, especially you. Like I be wondering. I was like,
man, we going back and forth,
and I always have to be the mediator and like break them up, and then they gang up on me for breaking them up. So it's just
because it's like mind your business.
Exactly, it's double teamed all the time, and
you used to think we was for real. You like, don't say that.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, girl,
we are.
We've been like this.
It's never a dull moment. They have really funny one-liners, and then they just go at it, and then they're like, fine. So I don't know. It's a never-ending roller coaster with y'all.
Yes.
She digs deep.
Yeah, y'all both do. Y'all both get in the gutter.
We do, but we
Y'all
love
get
each other
down.
at the end of the day. That's nice to see.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we should talk about our family dynamic first. Oh
What you
no,
mean?
we was gonna talk. No.
I mean, we kind of already. I mean, we're sisters.
Yeah, we are sisters. So we have another sister. We're the youngest out of everybody. And Jade.
Yeah, so I have an older brother, and we're like 6.5 years apart. So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, our older sister, we're 14 years apart, and my brother, we're 7 years apart. So yeah, and then we have another brother. I think we're 14 years.
We're about 7 years apart.
Yeah,
Him
okay.
as well. He's on our dad's side. So we're the babies on both sides, but I am the baby. Like, I am the last born. She's the first. We're 15 minutes apart.
Big
so
baby.
I don't want to talk about our family name, but definitely when we were born, even though I was born last, I was bigger than her, so they called me Big Baby, and then they called her Little Baby. So only family calls me that, and it's embarrassing, but yeah.
I just call it BB because I get tired of saying Big Baby. I say BB.
She really just called me Twin. That's it.
Well, yeah.
call each other
When we even right now, like when you refer, we say twin. Now Atlanta done turned their word out. Like, everybody call each other.
everybody knows.
That's so
We've
funny.
been doing that.
Because literally, I mean, like now, I've been calling you by your first names, and it sounds so weird because I always say twin. Like, and whenever I'm saying it, y'all know who I'm talking about. I don't say twin one or twin. I just say twin or good twin, bad twin.
Yeah, now everybody be like, "What's up, twin?" I'm like, in public, I'm like, "What's up?" Because I'm so used to being named twin.
Yeah.
But they really talk about. I'm like, okay, that's a new slang
Y'all done
word
took what
now.
we been saying.
Yeah.
But we been saying it since what, 97?
Exactly. Oh, don't be telling our age on here.
Ooh.
Oh, it's all right. Cat's out of the bag. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
I was gonna say since
We don't have to talking about numbers.
Okay, all right. I'm old enough. All right, enough.
So,
Old enough.
our topic, we were going to talk about stories in the Bible that we relate to, right?
yes,
That is our. As you can tell by the title, that is our episode for today for you all. It's just how we relate to stories in the Bible or parables. Just
Yes.
like stuff like
Oh yes.
that. Or who people? It can be people too. People, stories, etc.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Oh, yeah. Check and see before you break it up.
Yeah,
okay,
I got
some time. Okay. So, my story would have to be, I tell the story, I try not to get emotional about it, but I feel like I relate, it goes back to the story in Genesis, with Hagar, in,
The first chapter, Genesis.
yeah, the first chapter of Genesis.
Well, she ain't in the first chapter.
She ain't in
but
the first chapter.
Yeah.
The first chapter of the Bible is Genesis. And, Hagar, so basically, long story short, Abraham she was more so like a surrogate to Abraham for Sarah and Abraham, because they were so old, they couldn't have kids, but God promised Sarah that he was going to have a child. But instead of them waiting, she got Hagar, which was her servant, to have a baby with Abraham, and they named the baby Isaac. What's that?
Ishmael.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say I relate to Hagar because once Sarah found out that she had her child, when she was able to bear a child, she basically had Abraham to send Hagar on her way with her child. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I can relate to that because when I was 7 months pregnant with my daughter, I had a very emotional pregnancy, and during that pregnancy, me and my child's father, we had broke up. We was not together, and I just felt so alone, and everything was just everything was just falling down on me, and it was to the point where I didn't say I didn't want my child, but I didn't want my child in having an unhappy mother, like kind of like how Hagar, because when
she was very vulnerable in the desert.
Because when Abraham sent her on the way, he just sent her with enough food for her to go, but when she ran out of food and water, she just left. She was so sad. She didn't want to leave her child in the desert, but she felt like that was all she can do, and it was so sad. And I felt like she felt like she failed as a mother, and I definitely felt like at that moment being vulnerable by myself, like I just felt like I wasn't good enough of a mother, not just being pregnant, but I had my child too. I had my own child, Jewel, my firstborn. I just felt like I just would not be enough for them. And it just took God to come to me and be like, girl, no, this child is a superstar. And that's the main reason why I named my child Seven, because when he came to me, I was 7 months pregnant when that happened. So when he came to me and just told me like, hey, like, enjoy this, embrace your pregnancy, like embrace every single thing, embrace this child is going to be something good. That's why I named her Seven. Like, people don't really know that, and it makes me so emotional. But yeah, when I think about being 7 months pregnant, that's when I really just turned like everything over to God. And that's why I say I relate to Hagar the most. And then Ishmael went on to become a father of many nations, just like his brother did. So I definitely relate to him. And when I hear that story, like, I try not to cry. But that was just very resilient. And like I overcame that. So that's something that's very vulnerable. I never really shared that with anybody. I remember me and my sister reading it, and my sister was telling me, she was like, that sounds like what Hagar went through. Like, that sounds exactly like what you went through. And I took it in. I was just like, you are exactly right. Because like I said, it was a time I had to go to therapy. Like, I had to go I still talk to my therapist to this day, but I really had to go to therapy to get those emotions out of me, because I was so vulnerable. And how the way I don't like being a victim, but how the way I was did in the most vulnerable time. Treated.
When you're pregnant, you're at your most vulnerable. Even when you have your child, but definitely when you're pregnant, you're very much at your vulnerable, most vulnerable.
And it took me a while to get over. I was when I gave birth to 7, like it made my walk even stronger. But it took me a while to get over. Like, dang, I really had. It was like post-traumatic stress, PTSD, really. Yeah. But every time I think about it, I always think about God got me through it. And when I think about 7, I think about God. I think about Jesus. This is just a powerful number to me. And she's a powerful person to me, and she makes me so much, like both of my children, like Joel's my firstborn, he makes me a good person. 7 makes me a better, like they just make me such a better person in this universe. Like I just love my babies to death. So shout out to y'all.
Yeah, that's why I love all 3 of us being on here, because we got different perspectives.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is that's why I like all 3 of us being here, because we definitely have different perspectives, especially because we all, even though we're twins, we go through everything together, we spend every day together, but we still have different walks of life. Like, you're a mother, I'm a student at the moment, you work, like just like we all, and she works as well, so definitely we all different in our walks. So definitely I love that perspective.
Also, real quick, can I add to your point? And it also makes it help for me better understand it, is when you're talking about the story of Hagar and Sarai and Abraham, when you were talking about you felt like Hagar, I know that's when I found out one of the many names of God meant Elroy, and it literally means the God who sees me. Yes. And so that's like he brought an angel to her in the desert. Yeah. And she thought that God had left her and couldn't see her. And literally she called him Elroy, which means the God who sees me. Yeah. So just anybody who you feel like, when you feel like you aren't being seen or heard by God, he sees and he hears everything.
Definitely hears you.
He does. He does.
It might not be on your time, but he gonna always be on his time.
And his time is always right, guys.
Yes, God's timing is always right.
Well. All
right.
Okay. That's that twin stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my most relatable, I have 2 people that are in the Bible, are definitely Mary Magdalene. I love her so much because definitely she was there.
Is that Lazarus' sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like, she was ride or die for Jesus. Like, after Jesus healed her of those, I think she had 7 spirits in her, 7 demons. Like, she definitely, I think she's the disciple that nobody really talks about, but she definitely walked with Jesus, like, with all her might, and definitely dropped everything that she was doing. She was actually a prostitute, I think. Is that right?
I think, was it her sister?
I know, I gotta look that up. I can't correct.
No, correct us in the comments if we're wrong, and Lord forgive us. but definitely she and Jesus definitely healed her of those spirits, and she definitely walked with him once and didn't turn back. And she was the first one to discover the tomb was missing. The tomb was empty. So I really love how she was willing to drop everything and just follow him, and how he healed her of those spirits. Because I definitely feel like Jesus healed me from a lot of spirits that I took at the moment. So definitely. And the second one is Peter. Because Peter, he was about that life, like seriously. But also Peter was very outspoken, and he was very like he was human. Like, he made mistakes. Like, he denied Jesus 3 times, and I feel like I've done that. I've denied Jesus way more times than that. But yet Jesus still redeemed him those 3 times. So definitely, I feel that shows that if Jesus, you can come back from anything.
Yeah.
You can, and Jesus even told him that he was gonna do that, and he was just like, nah, like, I'm locked in with you too much. Like, I ain't gonna do that. But when the time came, he actually did. Exactly. And then the thing is, the thing I like about him, he immediately realized what he did, and like felt very bad. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's realistic. You know, we do a lot of things, and a lot of times we don't acknowledge that we're doing bad or anything like that. But I think the fact that, you know, how he felt at that moment when that rooster crowed, when Jesus told him by the third rooster crow, by the time this rooster crow, you're going to deny me the third time. I think as soon as he heard that rooster crow, like, he definitely felt a sense of remorse, and when he saw Jesus, he actually felt really guilty. And then Jesus asked him, did he love him 3 times, and he told him all 3 times he does, and that was enough for Jesus. So and then plus he was willing to cut somebody's ear off for Jesus, so I'm definitely willing. Let me stop. But
what was a moment in your life that kind of related to the Bible though?
I would say now I relate to those 2 characters, but a story that I relate to in the Bible would definitely be the parable of the lost sheep, where Jesus went back and got he had 99 sheep, but he noticed that one of them was missing, and he went back and got the missing one, and then he celebrated that he got that missing one. Because I definitely was that lost sheep, because you know, like, it was a time where I was on fire for Jesus, and I was like 11 12 years old. Like, I was reading the Bible, didn't know what I was reading, but I was just reading it, and like, I prayed every night. I did everything. I was like really, really young doing that, and then somehow I just lost my way, and I started.
But you never forgot to pray at night, though.
I always
it was not
pray.
One night.
Every phone I get, I always set my alarm at 9 o'clock to pray, because I gotta pray. Like, I don't care what it is, I'm going to pray.
Even when we're going through like the new age spiritual stuff, 9 o'clock,
I'm still praying. And I'm also, even though I was far from Jesus, I still prayed in Jesus' name. I always, like I said, I never, not once, never stopped believing from God, even though these things that I was doing was not of him. I was just satisfying my flesh, or just trying to, and I was talking to y'all too about that earlier today, where a lot of people do things to make themselves feel better, because it's just better to do what you want than what God wants.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're just never going to be satisfied when you do what you want, you know?
Yeah,
and I was never satisfied, so I'm just like, let me just stop doing what I want in this. Let me just do what God wants. And once I opened up the Bible and figured out what it is that God wants, that's when I, you know, definitely found myself, and I'm like, yeah, this is right. This feels great. Like, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. And I definitely felt like that lost sheep, because Jesus, I felt like I had done so much by that time that I was just like, I was kind of feeling guilty that I had to go to Jesus, because I done put everything before him. But Jesus is just like, he don't care about none of that. And I do feel like that day I decided to rededicate my life to Christ, I felt like he celebrated that.
Yeah.
And I felt like a celebration for it. It just felt great. So definitely, that's something. The parable of lost sheep is what I relate to, and it's so crazy, because I would tell Jade about like how I feel. I'm like, I just feel so good. I feel like Jesus just redeemed me. I feel better. You're just like, you sound like that sheep that Jesus went back and so. That's my relatable Bible story. What about you?
It's hard for me, because I don't know. I don't think in a sense of, maybe, I'm not going to say I were a person. Right now I can't think of a person, but I can say I can relate to a parable. And the lost sheep parable is what I feel like myself I relate to. That's a parable that I relate to. It's just a lost sheep. Just like being a Christian, getting saved, and then kind of becoming really lukewarm. Yeah. And then because the one sheep was a part of the 99. Yeah. And then he left the 99. Yeah. He wandered off. And that I feel like that was what I did. I wandered off a little bit, and then I came back, and it was just like nice to know that even though I wandered off, like even though I had left God never left me. Yeah. And he never stopped loving me, and he was as happy as if I would when I when I came back, he was as happy as I was when I left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right before I left. So that's what I just personally relate to in the Bible. It's just like the parable of the
You
lost
got a
sheep.
picture of that in your house.
I do actually. I have
That's
a
a
picture.
very nice picture.
It's
We
so
gotta
nice.
insert the picture.
Yes, you can maybe insert it like maybe right now. But it's just so pretty, and I just love it. And I look at it every single day, and I smile, and it's just like to know that even though I had walked so far, or not even that far, but I walked away from God, He was still there, ready to embrace me with open arms. Yeah, no, and it's just like we said early in the previous episodes, like, you know, it doesn't matter how far you walk away from God. You walked away from Him. He never left you, and He was just waiting for you to come back to Him, and He's gonna love you just as much as you did before you left. So,
Period.
Yes. So,
It kind of remind me. I mean, I'm gonna add one more what I can relate to. I know Genesis. I'm going to go back to Genesis.
Genesis.
Not Genesis. I'm sorry, not Genesis. It was Exodus.
Exodus. Okay.
When
Exodus is good.
yes, when Moses kept telling the Pharaoh, "Hey, please don't do this. Like, don't do it." And Pharaoh be like, "Okay, I'm not gonna do it." And then next thing you know, he did it anyways. And then God sent another, like, a one harder consequence. The consequences that he kept doing, like, it was harder. It was worse and worse. And it wasn't until, like, the last plague. When he sent that last plague, and that killed, like, all the men. Then it killed all.
It killed all the oldest
The
sons,
first
firstborn.
The firstborn son. So I say I can relate to the Pharaoh, because there'll be times I'll be like, God, you let me go through this. You release me from this. I promise you I'm going to do right. I promise you do right.
But
next thing you know, I'm back outside.
yeah, I think what it was is the Pharaoh heart was cold. Well, you're right, because he would tell
God,
Moses, he'll be like,
I'm gonna release your people, and then he'd be like, I still need them. And it went to the point, like, he told his people, like, go get them, like, and Moses had to part the Red Sea in order. God had to part the Red Sea for Moses to get the Israelites up out of there. Yeah, and sometimes your flesh can be like that. Like, I know, like I said, I can relate to the Pharaoh as far as having a hardened heart, and not sometimes, because the Pharaoh didn't have no remorse either. He was kind of like selfish as well with it. Like, he didn't care about all this stuff dying, all these plagues and stuff that God done sent. He wanted them slaves. He wanted to get the job done. So I kind of felt like, you know, I could relate to that, because I was hard-headed when it came to God. Like, I was very hard, and it wasn't until God
don't
sent
let him
me
send a conviction,
girl. I know, especially like with me. I used to be real reckless. I used to think, I'm like, you know, this God let me, you know, before my period came on, I'm like, oh my God, I used to pray to God and be like, please don't let me have this baby. Then He did it to me. I was like, God done brought this child. He done set me down for 9 months. So I think a lot of women can relate to me with that. Like, especially if you've been outside and you know, you just been a party girl. Like, you be praying to God, and once He deliver you that morning, once you start seeing your period, you be like, oh, back outside again. That's exactly how I was. I'm telling you. But it was not worth it. And I'm glad He sent, like, things like that, because it just changes me as a person. Like, it don't have to be as permanent as a baby, but it could be something like a failed test. Like, you knew that you knew that this test was coming up, but you praying to God that you passed it. Ain't even did your talking about me. I ain't even did your part. Like, you gotta,
I caught a stray.
you gotta always meet God halfway. So, and He will do the whole thing for you. So I think that's why. I mean, when I read that story, it really changed me, because I was like, God, I don't want to. It was like a mirror. Like, have you ever put a mirror? That's exactly how it was when I read that. I was like, God, this is how I sound like God to you. I apologize, you know. Yeah. So that really just changed me. That was very remarkable story. Like, reading it it's because I heard the story about the pharaohs and how Moses had to save the Israelites and how he parted the Red Sea. But it takes you reading it yourself to realize, like, wow. Especially like me getting older. It's just like me when I watch movies. Like, I used to think what Tina Turner Was Love Got to Do. I used to think that movie was so funny growing up, but now that I'm like, it's not like like that's like one of it. Like, I had to look at myself like be a older, mature. Like, you got to be more mature, like reading it. So I definitely, that's exactly how like I felt like reading the whole Bible again. I felt like older. It felt like being born again. You know what I'm saying? Like you starting all over again. So.
A new perspective.
Yeah, a new perspective. Yes.
Wait, so I got a question for y'all both. So what is one book in the Bible that you see yourself maybe not relating to, but you want to, that you like to read, or something that you like? What book in the Bible did you read and you were like, dang, I really love this book?
Why? I actually like Jonah.
You like his book, like his story?
Yes, I like his story. I really don't like how he acted towards the end, because he was very prideful towards God and very what do you call someone that is just like expected things? I forgot what it's called.
You're not having gratitude. Entitled. There we go.
He was very entitled, but it was like it's very short. In my Bible, Jonah was probably like 2 or 3 pages, but it was like one of the first stories in the Old Testament that I read and like got a full understanding, and it got me to actually. I'm like, oh my God! So the Bible does have like normal people on there, like people like here that are like ourselves. So definitely Jonah was the book. I'm not gonna lie, I can relate to him sometimes when, you know, God, because he was sent to do something, but he turned around. He was sent to preach to the town I haven't really read that much.
I can't tell you.
But
I just know the story.
Yeah.
Basically, God told him, like, he was a prophet. He told him to save the people of the town. It started with an N. I'm sorry, y'all correct me in the comments. But he was, I think it's called Nimin. I can't remember.
I know how it's spelled. I can't pronounce it right now.
Yeah, but he was supposed to basically God save those people from in that city, and like Jonah's like.
Get somebody else to do it.
And he hopped in a boat and like
got swallowed by a whale.
Basically, he got on a boat and it was a very bad storm, and they wondering like what's going on, like why is it storming, and he went to sleep, and then they woke him up. He was like, what's going on? So basically, in long story short, he got swallowed by a whale and he was in that whale for about 3 days, or they say a big fish in the Bible. But basically, and he made a promise with God, and he did not want to fulfill it, but he did, and he saved a lot of people. But he felt like those people didn't deserve to be saved, and he was just like upset with the Lord. Pride. Very prideful, and he was upset with the Lord, and the Lord planted a tree beside him or planted like a little plant beside him, and like it protected him as he was like upset, and then he not even realizing it that it's protecting him. The next day he woke up, it was dead. Well, the plant died, and he was upset with God because the plant died. So it was relatable because God has blessed me with a lot of things, like a job. I asked him for a good job, and he hands me the job, and then I'm just like, I don't like this job, like. And then he take it away from me, and then I'm like, I'm upset. Like,
how am I buy these clothes now?
So that's the most relatable book for me.
One for me, it'll have to be the Philippians. I love Philippians. My Instagram bio has a verse, I think 31, 13 through 50. I can't remember, but it's in my Instagram bio. But Philippians, I love Philippians. Paul was spitting fire.
Let's say it again, fire,
hot fire. And I never forget. When I was going through my dark times, I talked to Jade. I was like, I want to read the Bible, but I don't know where to start. And he was like, the shortest chapter I would recommend you to read is Philippians. And when you read Philippians, I recommend anybody, like, especially like a lukewarm Christian, start out with Philippians. I loved Philippians. Like, it was just basically like overview. What I got from it is like, don't you stop loving God, no matter what you go through, no matter what turmoil. Like, love God. He was spitting fire in prison, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in prison.
And then when I found out like what he was doing, like before he was named Paul, because it was named Saul.
He was a Pharisee actually.
Yeah. So as I was started reading, like when I was reading before, I was like, oh my gosh, this don't sound like the man in Philippians. And I love Proverbs as well. Proverbs. Yes. I read Proverbs in like once I started, because Proverbs got like 31 chapters in it.
Yeah, 31.
Yeah. I read that in like 2 days. I couldn't put it down. Like once I started reading Proverbs, like I couldn't put it down. Because I think Proverbs and Philippians both got wisdom in it. And it's just when I read Philippians, it kind of made me want to cry, because he was just telling his people like, don't give up on God, don't give up on Jesus. Jesus is the only way, and it's literally in Philippians. It's like he's the only way, and live your life right. And that's how Proverbs is like literally a cheat code to life, if you ask me. It tell you how, like as a woman, how you should respect yourself as a man. Especially it tells men how you should look for a wife, what kind of wife,
be a leader,
what kind of man you should be in the household. So I definitely I love, those are the two Bible verses two Bible books that I love reading.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'll probably say Proverbs is mine. I read it in January, and that was my first time actually reading it all the way through from beginning to end. Yeah. And for me, I really liked it because it was, like you said, Solomon spoke so much of wisdom. And what I found out was Solomon was one of the wisest men to ever live. He was the richest man ever. He had all these accolades. He did all this. He had all these wives, all these houses, and he still realized at the end of the day, you need God. He had turned away from God. Yeah. His father was David, and then he turned away from his wives made him turn away from God. And he realized I have all this money, I have all these houses, but I'm still unhappy. Yeah. And that relates, because I think today we all get stuck up in this little race of I want all this money, or I want to have the best looking attractive spouse, or the biggest house, or whatever the said thing may be. And it just shows you that he had it all. He can tell you, he can speak from his life that it didn't matter.
It didn't.
So I was just saying, just basically to wrap up what I was saying, which is Proverbs just showed me that it doesn't matter. If you can have all the money in the world, you can have the best, attractive looking people you're dating or married to, you can have the biggest house, but if you don't have God, it really doesn't mean anything. Because if God doesn't bless it, it doesn't mean anything. It's really just nothing. It's wholesome, like he says in Ecclesiastics. So it just showed me that we all in this life just try to strive for things when we really should be trying to strive to really just please God.
Yes.
I remember you were telling me about songs. Songs is very long, but I love the poets. I love the poetry in it. It's so beautiful. It is. I'm still not done with it. But
I'm not either.
I love songs. I thought about naming my daughter songs.
Yes, another story for me, I said Jonah too, but I love Daniel as well. Daniel, and I haven't read it all, but because we were supposed to do our I said supposed to, but we did our little Bible study all together, and we were talking about what's a chapter we could read, and we read Jonah, and I love the 3 men in the furnace story. I feel like we the 3 men in the furnace. We love God. We put us in that furnace, go ahead and do it. We don't care. Because, that's definitely the attitude. And I like how they were, they didn't even hesitate. They were just go ahead. I worship God. I can't worship no statue that you got. And not Jonah, but David. I also like David too, because he reminds me of Joseph from Genesis, where God gave him the power to interpret dreams. And Daniel had the same blessing, and it saved him just like it saved Joseph. So I love how the Bible is kind of telling in that.
I definitely agree.
I agree as well.
Same here.
So what is the Peachable moment here, ladies?
I guess for me, I can just go ahead and say the Peachable moment, since I like the book of Proverbs, is just to show that like you can still be proud of like the things you accomplish in this world, but if you don't keep God first, and if you don't include God in those things that you accomplish, it isn't going to mean anything, because it doesn't have his blessing on them. And so then you're going to be trying to keep them in your own strength, and when it doesn't work out, because it's not going to work out that way, you're going to be confused as to why it didn't work out, and you didn't keep God in it. So just keep God first in everything you do, and he will bless it no matter what, and he'll bless it in his way.
Pride.
Yes, exactly. And like you said, if you're doing it for the glory of God, really, it's just, that's all that matters.
Ultimately,
because you can't take it with you when you die. So
As long as you're doing it in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
You got a Peachable moment you want to share?
My Peachable moment, come back to me.
Okay. Well, my Peachable moment would definitely be, I'm going to bring it back to Jonah, is definitely recognize those blessings that God gives you. Like, God sees everything. He looks high, and looks low at us. It definitely
he sits high and looks
low. Sorry. And definitely he sometimes he'll bless you with just something very small to see what you're gonna do with it, and then bless you with it big. So who would have known the bigger blessing that Jonah would have got if he had been appreciative of that tree? He was already blessed because he helped so many people come to God. So definitely. And with Jonah, the Peachable moment there, not Jonah, but Daniel, the Peachable moment there is definitely, especially when he was in that lion's den, you're gonna be, especially as a Christian, you're gonna be in the lion's den, like theoretically or not, like, but you cannot be afraid, because God is going to always prevail. He looks out for his kids. He looks out for those people that love him. So definitely keep that fire in God, and definitely also just find you a chapter. It don't have to be a big chapter. Jonah's not a big chapter at all, and get into the Bible.
So I finally found my Peachable moment. I had to go back to when I was talking about Philippians and how God was, how Paul was speaking to the Philippian people. And I would say my Peachable moment is never stop loving God, never stop listening to God. I always love, like what Twin said with Jonah, like, love God through anything. Like, I just never, and it wasn't more so, he was talking about God, but he was like Jesus. He was really talking about Jesus. And a lot of people, they don't know God. I mean, they know God, but they don't know Jesus. It's time to like take the time out to get to know Jesus, because if you don't get to know God or Jesus, there's no how can you know how can you know your father without getting to know their son? That's just like with anything. So
Jesus, Jesus said, you cannot go through anybody but me. So.
And the only way you can learn is through Jesus. So I definitely a Peachable moment is get to know God, because get to know God, get a relationship with God, because that's exactly how Paul was. Paul didn't know God. He was killing Christians. He was just doing whatever because he felt like he had the power to. So once you get to know Jesus and get to know God, that relationship gets stronger and stronger, and then you're able to preach it to many other people without any hesitation. So that will be my Peachable moment.
And I just want to add to that point what you said about Paul. Yeah, because Paul was like, he was a Pharisee, so he was following the old, like, the laws of Moses. And so he was killing Christians because he thought they were like going against God. And that was actually not, they were following Jesus. So that was cool how, like you said,
get to know Jesus.
For sure.
Definitely. That's what took me, because I used to talk to God. And God be like, I hear you, but are you are you following me? You You're not acknowledging my son. That's just like when me and my kid, you speaking to me. I'm like, hey, my kid's saying hey too now. Like, you know how you, if you're a mom, like if you see your kid waving at somebody, you want, hey, wave at my kid. That's how I'm like, like don't acknowledge me without acknowledging my child, my son.
Yeah.
So that's how.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So that's how I feel. Like, wave at the kid. Get to know the kid. Talk to the kid. You know, and then you get to know the parent. You know what I mean? So you might learn a little bit more from the kid than you learn from the parent. Well, you will. 9 times out of 10, kids talk a lot.
So, your kids do.
And mine do. But that's my Peachable moment.
Yeah, so if you liked this episode and you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Also, follow us on TikTok at Peachable_moment and Instagram as well at Peachable_moment. Definitely.
And YouTube.
Yeah. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Follow as well and leave a comment. Like, we definitely want to know from you all, and definitely want to hear from you all.
And what was your Peachable moment?
Exactly.
We're gonna make a little theme song. Peachable moment. Peachable moment.
We're working on that. Okay. We're working on that.
Well, if you enjoyed this, definitely want to hear from you all. And thank you so much for sitting through this and listening to us. May God bless you.
Yes. Bye.
Till next time. Bye-bye.